My mother have always been a Hmong doll collector and the flea market was her hot spot for buying them. I always hated Hmong dolls, they always scared the crap out of me for some reason. One day she came home with a new doll, of course I was mad and reminded her she already had a lot of stupid dolls. My mom ignored my comments and placed the doll in her room with the rest of them. We lived in a small home and the only restroom was located in my mother's room. So that meant every time I had to use the restroom I would have to go through my mother's room and her collection of dolls. I remember the first night I heard the doll singing, it was around midnight and I really had to go to the restroom. As I entered the room I heard some humming, I looked around and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I shrugged it off and did my business. As I was walking out of her room I heard it again, only this time it was a little girl's voice singing a tune. Whatever tune it was I didn't recognize it, but it did scare me half to death. I ran out of there so quick and locked my bedroom door. The next morning I told my mother and she gave me a puzzled look. She said, "You know, the last time I was cleaning I heard it too, but I figured it was one of those old dolls that sang with the batteries." So we both went about our daily routines for the next couple of months. The doll continued to sing, but at first it would only sing when we were in the room with it. As time went on though, it started singing at all hours of the day. Even when we were outside sitting in the porch we could hear the singing from inside the house. One day I stayed home alone, and I remember the house being super quiet. I was surprised not to be hearing the doll singing, so I went into my mother's room to check up on it. Sure enough, there it was sitting on the shelf. I got a chill on my spine but got the courage to walk towards it. I stared at it for a long time expecting it to sing at any moment, but nothing happened. I grabbed it and started examining it. That's when I noticed something strange. The doll was super lightweight. I looked under her dress and she was made out of rag. Only her head was made out of plastic. I felt my heart picked up and I pieced things together. I frantically looked for voice boxes within the doll but it had none. That meant it was impossible for the doll to sing. I was too scared to move. Finally I snapped out of it and put the doll back in the shelf. I slowly turned around and made my way to the door. I let out a sigh of relief when I made it to the living room, but then I heard the singing again. I ran outside and waited for my mom on the porch. That night I told her everything and she examined the doll and confirmed that there was no battery pack and no voice boxes in the doll. Finally my mom had enough and she decided to burn it along with our trash. That night as the trash burned, she got the doll and threw it into the fire. At first it was silence, then the doll started screaming, "Mommy, Mommy." I will never forget the way the poor doll cried out for her mommy. I almost felt sad and ashamed, but we didn't know what to do. After that my mother stopped collecting dolls and we haven't had an experience like that since.